आनंदमयी चैतन्यमयी सत्यमयी परमे ओं श्री अरविंदो मीरा इज माई refuge. Good evening, namaste, Vande Matram, welcome all. So today in this spiritual session we'll discuss a good topic, that is on humanity. The topic of this spiritual session will be on humanity. We'll discuss on humanity today. So everything will be discussed in the philosophy of Sri Aurobindo and the mother. Mostly from the Sri Aurobindo's right we are going to decide, and we are going to discuss some few lines in brief on humanity. So this term humanity, it is derived from the human. We are all human beings, as we know. So Sri Aurobindo quotes here, humanity in the mass is still a hard, crude and vile ore, yet to be furnished, yet to be re-fermented to get the original the metal. So it is in the ore state. Humanity in the mass is still, of course something has been done, but Sri Aurobindo writes it here, is still a hard, crude and vile ore. It has to be performed, it has to be transformed, it has to be made original metal. So it is in the ore stage right now. Respect human life as long as you can. In the next sentence, next comment message, Sri Aurobindo quotes here, respect human life as long as you can, but respect more the life of the humanity. So human and humanity he differentiates in the same sentence. Respect human life as much as you can. Of course we respect the human life to a core. Knowingly or unknowingly we have got some respect for human life. But respect more the life of humanity. The life of humanity has to be respected more as per Sri Aurobindo's advice. Humanity is not the highest Godhead. Humanity is not the highest Godhead. God is more than humanity, but in humanity too we have to find and serve Him. So just imagine, is a big truth that is being veiled inside this sentence. Big, it has to be revealed. Humanity is not the highest Godhead. Imagine, humanity is not the highest Godhead. God is more than humanity, of course, obviously. But in humanity is not the highest Godhead. God is more than the humanity, but in humanity too we have to find and serve Him. We have to find the divine and God, and we have to serve the God. So it is concealed in the humanity. We have to find it out. We have to discover it and serve and find Him. So next sentence, humanity fulfills itself when it transcends humanity and becomes God. So humanity, it is unfulfilled. So humanity fulfills itself. Humanity fulfills itself, gets fulfilled when it transcends humanity and becomes God. When the transcends humanity and becomes God, then only humanity gets fulfilled. Next line, next sentence, the human touches first the divine, then becomes the divine. So originally thing is that human touches first the divine and then becomes the divine. With the touch, that alchemy works, with the touch of the divine first, then he becomes the divine. It is the initial condition. So in other words, Sri Aurobindo's writings also we have seen. Of course you might have remembered, God shall be born on man. God shall be born on man, that man being human may grow even as the God. This is the intermediate stage. God has to born in man, in which man God has taken birth, is born. That man being human, intermediate phase, the next phase is human. This human may grow even as God. Here also the equivalent sentence we see, the human touches first the divine. The human touches first the divine, then it becomes the divine. The divine fullness is the sole real aim of humanity. What is the real humanity, your real aim of humanity? So it is, the answer varies, but Sri Aurobindo quotes for the spiritual, in people who are in the spiritual endeavor, in the spiritual group, in the spiritual endeavor, spiritual track, the divine fullness is the sole real aim of humanity. Sole real humanity, aim of humanity is the divine fullness. So before going to humanity further, a couple of terms we will try to discuss. That is on the human vision. It is the now itself we saw, so we have seen sole real aim of humanity is the divine fullness. Next question, the next step we are going to the next very interesting thing we are going to visualize here, see here. Our mortal vision peers with ignorant eyes. So human vision we are seeing. Our mortal vision, our vision is mortal because by essence, by definition, man is mortal. It is short-lived, ephemeral. So many interesting definitions are there. Of course, it is striking, but we don't know, we don't understand, and we don't believe in the reality because it is our weakness. We feel great. So far, the finest animal. We have the ego. That ego is yet to be removed, rejected. So our mortal vision peers with ignorant eyes. The eyes are ignorant, so we have mortal vision with ignorant eyes. It peers through. It has no gaze on the deep heart of things. It is only superficially it sees. It looks superficially to the upward way, but inside it never goes. It has no gaze on deep heart of things. Then next step, next term we are going to, next dual term we are going to analyze, that is human nature. The vibrations in human nature are too great to be covered by a single transient rule. No single transient rule. Rule that is transient rule, and a single transient rule is can't cover the vibrations in human nature. In human nature, there are vibrations, there is variations. So these variations in human nature are too great to be covered by a single transient rule. So it needs differentiation. This is the point of distinction here. Human rule. This is the one artificially or superficially it looks, but deepest truth is hid within. It can't be covered by a single transient law. Then next one, Sri Aurobindo speaks up in very beautifully. Sri Aurobindo writes here: a human soul and nature can't be dealt with by a set of mental rules. Transient rule, single transient rule. Just before this sentence, we have seen single transient rule. Now itself, Sri Aurobindo quotes a set of mental rules. Human soul and nature, both human soul and nature, can't be dealt with a set of mental rules applicable to everybody in the same way. Impossible. Applicable to same way everybody, and in the same way, all the mental rules can't be dealt with for the human soul and human nature. It differs, it varies, it is different, totally different. Next, one must not treat human nature like a machine to be handled according to the rigid mental rules. Once again, the same rules, same nature, same rule, mental rules. Sri Aurobindo quotes here, Sri Aurobindo focuses here, and Sri Aurobindo gives the maximum stress upon the human rigid mental rules. One must not treat human nature like a machine to be handled. It is like a machine. We ask for a rule, or ask for our wish, we can control it, or we can handle it, or we can just treat it. So one must not treat human nature like a machine to be handled according to rigid mental rules. A great plasticity is needed in the dealing with the complex motives. It is not the very simple motives, that is, these are the human nature, or human nature is very complex, and this motive is complex motives. So it can't be treated as a machine. Human nature like a machine must not be treated and handled with the rigid mental rules. For that, what is required? The initial requirement, the very true requirement is, the very fundamental requirement is that a great plasticity is needed in dealing with the complex motives. These motives are very complex. So to deal with this complexity, one has to deal according to the very flexibility, rather plasticity rather. So couple of lines now we are going to discuss on humanity from in the lines of Savitri, we'll see. So it is actually a reaction on being a human, and characterizing its limitations, its single periphery, its all limitations, its bondage. There is also a reaction. One reaction we'll see on humanity. Call me not to die the great eternal death. There is a complaint, there is a reco, there is actually a warped reco. Call me not thou, die to the great eternal death. Left naked of my own humanity, left naked of my own humanity in the chill vast of the spirit's boundlessness. Spirit's boundlessness it is recognized. Call me not die to the great eternal death, left naked of my own humanity in the chill vast of the spirit's boundlessness. Each creature by its nature's limits lives. So that is, even if I feel I am great, I have done initially, I had got a great birth once upon a time. I was a titan, I was a god rather, under a godhead rather in the previous birth or so. But now itself, I am limited. It is in the nature's limited lives. So each creature by its nature's limited lives, and how can one evade his native fate? The fate is fixed, so how can this native fate can be evaded? So finally he claims, human I am. Considering there is an echo, there is a little bit of actually interesting compromise, he's a little bit of complaint, little bit of agony. He is actually, he's something sigh to express in reaction. How can human I am, human let me remain. I am human, I know. Let me remain as a human till in the inconscient I fall dumb and sleep. In the inconscient I have to lay, fall dumb and sleep. A high insanity, a chimera is this. This is the truth. This is the daydream. This is the truth. I have to accept it. To think that God lives hidden in the clay, and that eternal truth can dwell in time, and call to her to save ourselves and our world. So this is the chimera. All these things here in the course, these are all this complaint. The word echo complaints, criticizes. These are all the chimeras. How can man grow? He can't even trust. How can even man grow immortal and divine? Because he is a human thing, not even a human being, not possessing even humanity. Subtle, because he has to gain the divinity. How can man grow immortal and divine, transcending the very stuff of which he is made? This wizard gods may dream, not the thinking man. So he wants to be confined to the humanity. But after another beautiful definition is there on humanity. Still there is some chance is there. It has to come down. It has to recover, and it has to gain the humanity and become the God. It has to cross the limit. But as the sadhaka proceeds, as the sadhaka, there is a progress in sadhana. This humanity falls. So it gets circumscribed. It gets limited. Its peripheries get shortened. Still in the course here in Savitri, as so he grew into his larger self. From the smaller self, he grows into the larger self. Then what happens? Once he is moving towards and achieving the larger self, humanity framed his movements less and less. Humanity framed his movements less and less. A greater being then saw a greater world. A fearless will for knowledge dare to erase the lines of septuagint that draws that bar. Mind's souls dive into the infinity. So he wants to grow, he grows, and then humanity framed his movements less and less. He is free, and a little bit of freedom he is gaining, and he is crossing over, he is going up. Then also we have seen very interesting description as given by Sri Aurobindo. Humanity in his house of sacrifice. Humanity. He is speaking of the flame, the deathless flame. Lonely mounts up to heaven the deathless flame. In a veiled nature's hallowed secrecies, it burns forever on the altar mind. Its priests, the souls of dedicated gods. Humanity is a house of sacrifice. It is about soul and sacrifice. That's here in the course here. Then very interesting definition. Of course, we are going to see it here. That has been described beautifully. Here, the humanity is very much astonishing, and this humanity, man, superhuman, goes up to superhuman heights.